Hello everyone. This week I'm going to be talking about one of my favourite raptors, the red-tailed hawk. Just look at this beautiful tail. The red-tailed hawk is a bird of prey that breeds throughout most of North America, from the interior of Alaska and northern Canada to as far south as Panama and the West Indies. It is one of the most common members within the genus of Buteo in North America, and we often see them here in Vancouver atop lampposts and farm fences all along the highway. I once counted 8 red tails from the short trip between Swassen to Ladner on Highway 17A. Its conservation status is of least concern. Which is great news, and we are so lucky to see so many here, a lot are resident and they breed here too. The red-tailed hawk occupies a wide range of habitats and altitudes, including deserts, grasslands, coniferous and deciduous forests, agricultural fields and urban areas. In the Delta area of Vancouver, where I live and do most of my filming, and most of the footage in this video is from Delta, the farm fields nearby provide excellent hunting grounds. But on summer road trips into the interior, I've seen them in the high mountain forests in the Rockies and in the desert caribou region too. One of the most noticeable facts about red-tailed hawks is their sexual dimorphism in size, with the females averaging about 25% heavier than the males. But it is often really hard to tell the sex unless they're perched right next to each other. Nests are often used in subsequent years and are built up, as in the case in this nest. But most nests are in trees bordering farm fields or grasslands, high in trees. But I've seen them nest on bridges, on scaffolding, cell phone towers, and they do it quite successfully too, raising chicks. It's hard to believe, but I've seen it. After about 28 to 35 days of incubation, the eggs start to hatch. Like most raptorial birds, the nestlings are altricial and nidicolous at hatching, and those words mean that they're undeveloped and helpless and need to stay in the nest, dependent on their parents for feeding and care. In some books, I've read that the female broods them while the male provides most of the food. But look at this video here. The female arrives and takes over nest watching duty. Can you see? Watch her rearrange the sticks in the nest. It's too funny. It's almost like the male always puts the sticks in the wrong place. I love it. Young red-tailed hawks are known as eyasses. The adults feed the eyasses after tearing the food into small pieces, and the young red-tails are active by the second day when they issue soft peeping calls, bounce and wave continuously with their wings. The diet of red-tailed hawks is highly variable too, as they're opportunistic hunters. They usually hunt from a high perch and then swoop down and grab their prey, usually small birds and rodents, small mammals like squirrels and voles, but even they'll take fish and lizards and crabs as well. Because they are so common and easily trained as capable hunters, the majority of hawks captured for falconry are red-tailed hawks. Falconers are permitted to take only passage hawks. Passage hawk means they've left the nest and they're on their own, but they are less than a year old, so it doesn't affect the breeding population. there may be at least 14 recognized subspecies of red-tailed hawk, Buteo jamaicensis, which vary in range and in coloration. Here in Vancouver, we usually get the more reddish, the rufous colouring. However, not everyone accepts every subspecies, and there are often quite a lot of controversial discussions about the subspecies, for example, the harlins and criders. But it makes for really interesting discussions in some birding and raptor groups. And in the future, I'd like to do an entire episode purely on the different colour morphs of red-tailed hawks. There's a lot of information online about this. The call, or the cry, or even the scream of the red-tailed hawk is another interesting and well-known fact. The fierce, screaming cry of the adult red-tailed hawk is frequently used as a generic raptor sound effect in television shows and other media. Even if the bird featured is not a red-tailed hawk, they often use the bald eagle, which contributes to the common misconception that it is a bald eagle cry. And in fact, bald eagle vocalizations are far softer and more chirpy than a red-tailed hawk. I love their cry, it's quite primal. Red-tailed hawks are considered partial migrants, as in about the northern third of their distribution, which is most of their range in Canada and Alaska, they almost entirely vacate their breeding grounds. In coastal areas such as the Pacific Northwest, that's us Vancouver, all the way up to Alaska, and then in Nova Scotia on the Atlantic side, red-tailed hawks do not usually migrate. After 42 to 46 days, that's just over 6 weeks, the eyasses begin to leave the nest and tear prey apart by themselves. The amount of food brought to the nest daily varies considerably based on the brood size and prey availability. So the window to watch these young raptors is really small. From hatch to fledge can be as little as 6 weeks. One of the clearest identifying markers of a red-tailed hawk is the belly band. Red tails have a whitish underbelly with a dark brown band across the belly, formed by the horizontal streaks in feather patterning, which is present in most colour variations. You might have thought I was going to say the biggest ID feature is the red tail, but the red tail feathers only grow in during the second year of the bird's life. Immature birds can also be recognised by their paler yellow eyes, which darken with maturity. They reach adulthood at about 3 to 4 years. To end this week's episode, I'm going to share an encounter I had with you in the spring of last year. It was just after lockdown. I was taking a walk when I saw this young red-tailed hawk, a first-year bird, down on the ground. He obviously couldn't find enough food to feed himself and possibly ingested poison from either insecticides or rodenticides and was down on the ground. I never touch wildlife if I can help it, and only if they need human intervention. I watched this young red tail eating mud and grass, and she wasn't flying off even when cars drove by or when I approached. I called our local rehab centre, that's OWL in Delta. I called them immediately, I have their number on speed dial, and asked their advice, and they talked me through it. If a raptor's down, then she needs help. She's on her way out. They were going to dispatch a rescue team immediately, but asked me to try and get close or as near as possible to see if she'd fly and just to protect her from the traffic. I had a leather jacket to cover the bird with, and they were on the phone to me while I approached. I would never normally do this, and I was able to pick her up. What you can't see in this video are the tears streaming down my face. I want my wildlife to be wild. I don't want to be able to touch it. And when she looked up at me and lifted her wings in surrender, I thought my heart would break. As fast as I could, I raced to our rehab with the red tail in my arms, but she only survived another day. Owl tried their hardest to save her, but she was just too weak. The team at our rehab are the bravest, kindest, strongest people I know. Please support them if you're able. I'll put a link to their website in my description. I hope you enjoyed my video. There are several excellent websites online for more information, and I'll be doing another show about them. I have so much more video to show you and so many more things to tell you about them. Have a lovely week and a weekend ahead, and stay safe, be kind, please respect wildlife, and always try to put nature first.